Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone as we welcome you to the first regular council meeting in the city of Fernie for 2023, January 10th. I'll begin by acknowledging that we in the city of Fernie is located within Kukanamakas, the unceded traditional territory of Yakinikliit. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. The Kanahunik are from Yakinikliit and are members of the Tanaha speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. And with that, I call the meeting to order. This meeting is being conducted by in-person and electronic means in accordance with Council Procedure Bylaw number 2446. And I will ask for a mover for the following staff recommendation: that if the communication link to the specified place for this meeting is interrupted and cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting shall adjourn and reconvene to the soonest possible time that quorum can be achieved and public notice requirements met. I have a mover, please. Councillor Shoesmith, seconded by Councillor Ramdas. All in favor? That is passed. I'll ask for a mover for approval of the agenda. Are there any late items to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. All in favor? Thank you. Nice. And adoption of the minutes of the previous meetings of council. The minutes of a regular council meeting held on December 12th, 2022. Can I have a mover for adoption of those minutes? Councillor Shoesmith, Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? Any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Recording in progress.
Thank you. We'll now open the floor to public participation. I invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.73 of the procedure bylaw to address council, excluding matters for which speakers must not address, speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. And speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. And a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. And is there anyone who wishes to address council? Hearing none?
Yes.
So we have at the specified place wishing to address council.
For council and folks online and staff. My name is Chris Inglis, a resident of Fernie for 53 years, 1151 First Avenue. Mayor and council, I just wanted to bring to your attention, since you are going to talk tonight about the council procedure bylaw. I see the timing there. My comments fall under the council procedure bylaw. As you know, I've lived here my whole life, and this past council has changed the procedure bylaw and made it so hard for people to come and speak about a certain topic. And I'll be honest with you, I was given the opportunity to speak at the last council meeting before Christmas, and I really felt the pressure on a 3-minute time limit, and then had to respectively ask for more time, which I was granted, and I thank the mayor and council for that. But when you have a 15-minute input, I would like you to consider if there's 3 speakers to give them 5 minutes each. And if there's only 2 speakers, maybe 7.5 minutes each, don't put such a time limit on it. I just really think it's a lot of pressure. A lot of you folks are used to speaking in front of a lot of people or the public, and that when I come on or somebody else, it's a little bit nerve wracking, and I felt a lot of pressure. So I hope you can consider maybe going to those kind of steps. If it's a 15-minute public input and you see you have 3 people to speak, if they could have 5 minutes each, I would appreciate that. And also too, back before this last council, previous 4 years, somebody from the public could come to a council meeting and speak about the public, not just what's on the agenda items. I really believe you're limiting what the public can do when everybody running during a pre-election said they want to be more open and inviting to the people. Well, I think the one way to be open and inviting is don't limit people to come and speak during the public input session just on the agenda items, because that's not fair if they have something else to bring up that might be a safety issue around town or something else. And it's not going through the web page that works. Sometimes you don't get a response back for 1 or 2 weeks. So those are my comments regarding the council procedure bylaw. I would like you to please consider them when you're talking about the time change as well. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Inglis. We appreciate your perspective. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Hearing none, we shall move on to item 8.1. So the 2022 to 2026 5-year financial plan bylaw amendment.
Yes, there is no report for this amendment today. It's just a recommendation for the bylaw to be adopted.
Thank you. Could you read the
Yes.
recommendation?
That the 2022 to 2026 5-year financial plan, sorry about that. Financial plan bylaw number 2458, amendment bylaw number 2481, 2022 be adopted.
Can I ask for a mover, please? Councilor McIsaac, seconded by Councilor Nixon. Any discussion? Councilor Round.
Just had one question, Your Worship. Just wondering from the staff if RCMP protective services and all those costs were also included in the protective services line item there. Yes. Yeah, including the possible increase in wages.
No, are you referring to the retro payment?
Yeah.
No, we don't have that amount yet, so it's not included in the budget per se, but we have put some money into one of our reserves in anticipation of that, when that does come through.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my only question.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I shall call for the vote. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 8.2, council procedure bylaw number 2446, amendment bylaw number 2483, report from acting director corporate administration.
Thank you. So I'm here tonight to introduce you to amendment bylaw number 2483, which would be amending our council procedure bylaw to change our regular meeting start time from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. So at the December 12th, 2022 regular council meeting, council directed staff to bring forward an amendment that would make this time change. And in addition, council also requested some information from staff about the possibility of removing a specific time from the council procedure bylaw. And you'll have to apologize, I've almost lost my voice today. After consultation with other corporate officers and reviewing the council procedure bylaw of other municipalities, we have found it's best practice to include the time. And in fact, in referring to the BC Ombudsperson, they have a fantastic report called Open Meetings, Best Practices for Local Governments. Per section 124 of the Community Charter, we must provide for advanced public notice of the time, date, and place of our regular council meetings. And in fact, section 127 of the Community Charter makes it so that council must make available to the public a schedule with the time, date, and place of regular council meetings annually. So if council would like to make this amendment to our council procedure bylaw to change our meeting time to 6 p.m., just know that in the future, we can always come back. We are going to have an annual fall review of our council procedure bylaw. I'll start losing it again. And then at that time, if council is not happy with the change in meeting times, we can always undertake that process again. So to give you a bit of an idea about the timeline, when we make changes to our council procedure bylaw, we have to make public notice. And that means twice in the paper, we'll have to notify that we're planning to make or consider adoption of this bylaw that would change the council procedure bylaw. So in order for this amendment bylaw to take effect, we would have to use the 2 next papers, which means that we would miss our next council meeting. This will be brought back to adoption at the February 14th meeting, and then it will be our last meeting in February. It would be the first to start at 6 p.m. I hope that made sense. Yes. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, I apologize for my voice.
Not at all. Are there any questions for Councilor Daniel? Seeing none, could I ask you to read the recommendation?
Yes, the council procedure bylaw number 2446, amendment bylaw number 2483, 2022 be given first, second, and third reading.
Can I ask for a mover? Councilor Ramdas, Councilor McIsaac. Any further discussion, Councilor McIsaac?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to make a comment that I think the change from 7 to 6 will be a little bit challenging, at least for my household, and I've heard from several people that it falls in the middle of their dinner hour, which will hamper their ability to watch the meeting and so on. I don't think it's a huge change. I support the change. I'm always happy to try something new and see how it goes. I appreciate Officer Daniel's reported to checking into time flexibility, and also knowing that we'll have a review of this and we can look back and see what the effect of the changes have been on both on council members and on the public. I think that's going to be great, and we can look at it then, but I do support the change.
Thank you. And I think out of respect for Councilor Hamilton couldn't be here this evening, he also forwarded a very similar concern, that he has some feedback about the movement of the council meeting and its effect on particularly young families who are busy during the dinner hour. So I think it is, I, like you, support the change and I'm willing to give it a try, and we have an opportunity to review it. So I support it as well. Councilor Kelly.
Can I just clarify, can we only review it annually, Officer Daniel?
No, so with any bylaw that is, council does all the bylaws, sorry, that you can make a change at any time. It's just how long it takes that change to make. So if I was leading the review, I would bring it back to October Committee of the Whole for council to provide any direction to staff to make changes. And in that case, we will be able to make any time changes needed by the December meeting where we put out the annual schedule of all of our meetings. Also, just to note, if we should make this time to adjust to 6 p.m., we already sent out our annual notification to the public about when and where and at what time our regular council meetings would be. So we would be doing some special advertising on top of that, and I'd be working with our communications coordinator to make sure that it was quite clear to the public that the time had changed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 9.1, the 2023 discretionary grant recommendation report from our Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mayor Relegate. I don't have a slideshow or anything, just to summarize the report that's in your agenda. The discretionary grants committee, which is Councilor Audia Kelly, Councilor McIsaac, and Councilor Hamilton, met on December 15th. We had 9 applicants this year, 5 of which did not meet the criteria in our discretionary grants policies, specifically that they have to be a not-for-profit organization or a charity, and that they can't receive or that they can't receive funding in no more than 2 of the previous 5 years. So that left 4 applicants that were eligible. And the committee voted to award all 4 of them some money. They are the Elk River Alliance, Fernie Citizens Housing Society, Fernie Freestyle Snow Club, and the Fernie Heritage Trust Society. The total going to these 4 is $14,400. which is the same amount as our 2022. Prior to 2022, this program used to award 18,000. So there was some discussion about the future of this program and what the amount looks like. So that will be a point of discussion when we get into our 2023 budget meetings in early February. And that's it for me. I'm happy to help answer questions.
Any questions for Director of Finance? Councilor Roberts.
Not a question per se, your worship, just an observation. Just, it's a pretty small sum of money, right? I just thinking about it, it just feels like, if we can increase our tax base and get our fiscal situation in order, we might actually be in a situation where we can provide more monies to our community. So just an observation.
Thank you. Councilor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I should have said this at the very beginning, but in 2018, I did declare a conflict of interest for Fernie Freestyle, because I was a president at that time. I am no longer involved on the board whatsoever, so I have no conflict, so.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
It hadn't occurred to me, but I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll just say.
Oh, I was looking at you.
Steer me down.
Sorry, Your Worship, one more question. I wanted to ask the members who are on this committee, like 50 grand from the housing society, we decided $5,000, that's a major delta, right? Like it's a big difference.
Councilor Kelly.
Councilman Kaiser, did you want
Please.
to, because of you mentioned the limitation to the funding, we were hopeful that will give the folks some opportunity to get other grants. Sometimes you need seed money, and it gives them some opportunities to perhaps seek other funding, because obviously the 14,400 to give out 50,000 was an impossible ask.
Yeah. Okay, fair point.
Didn't I capture?
Just if I can add, Your Worship, most grants are oversubscribed anyways. I mean, when we get a Columbia Basin Trust grant, I mean, when we see that later coming down the pipe, it's gonna be $150,000 oversubscribed. So this is just the normal as well.
Mr. Baranowski, you had a comment?
Only to Councilor Ramades's comments about grants and supports to organizations. I think this discretionary grant pool is one specific community investment and community development fund to support small discretionary grants within a specific terms of reference. The city of Fernie does provide both between core operating grants and direct funding worth of $600,000, $700,000 in community investment funding to societies and community groups that provide services and operate and provide fair quality of life in the community. It is a really significant investor in very many groups around the community that isn't captured here. And then on top of that, there are the discretionary funding elements that come through our resort development strategy for elements such as grooming in the winter or developing tourism-focused assets. So overall, there are some years where you will see nearing $1 million of direct community quality of life investments from the municipality. And I will make sure that we do touch on that with our CFO or Director of Finance, Mr. Burdick, in the finance process. But your comment is very good and well taken in that it's important we talk about our whole investment at times, because this is but one small part.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that clarification. It's important context. Thank you. Councilor Perez.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just curious, are there any grants that are specifically for youth or even like sports that can be applied for later in the year, or is it just kind of one majority at the beginning of the year? Because I know it's really difficult for a lot of sports organizations to have specific numbers this early. A lot of them happen in the springtime, and I think it would be super beneficial if that there's something for them a little bit later in the year, or one specifically for you.
I mean, the answer to your question is no.
Yeah. However,
Counselor, it is possible that we, as we look at our funding specifically for events that draw visitors, we have partnered through our reserve development strategy to look at tournaments as a big way that we bring visitors to the community, and working with the Dolphins and working with volleyball has been successful. So if there are other groups specifically around youth sports or culture or arts or any activities that would bring visitation to town, it would probably be a good idea for us to have a little bit more dialogue about that, maybe outside of the council chambers, to try and see what we can structure that's meaningful.
Follow?
Yeah, just a follow-up question. Thank you. Okay, so I noticed you mentioned community development as one of the big things. This might be a little bit controversial for one of my first time speaking, but I would argue that having a really strong foundation for youth sports is community development, even if that's not bringing in revenue. Sports have a very positive effect on physical and mental health, and I think that is a huge part of our community development. Youth is our future, so I think investing in that at a young age, even if it does bring in tournaments, but I think that should be something that is taken into account when discussing community development.
Very good points. Thank you, Ms. Council.
Very valid perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. And just with regards to Mr. Verazal's comments, in the distant past, there has been discussions, primarily following late requests for support for groups and so on, about potentially dividing the discretionary grants into 2 intake periods throughout the year. So when we get to the budget discussions and look at the numbers, I think that might be an option that we could definitely consider. Would potentially provide some greater flexibility for organizations. Does increase the burden of work and so on, but it might be an option for things that are not in good time.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I appreciate that as well. It allows, to your point, some flexibility both for community groups seeking funding, but also for us in terms of awarding those funds. So I think that makes good sense to me, but as you say, it's something further for the budget discussions. Thank you. Any other discussion? Can I ask you to read the recommendation?
It's good, thank you. That council approved the discretionary grant allocations proposed by the Discretionary Grants Committee on December 15th, 2022, totaling $14,400, as included in this report dated January 10th, 2023.
Mover. Councilor Ramadas, seconded by Councilor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All in favor? That brings us to item 9.2, wildfire fuel management grant report from our deputy fire chief.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Just share my screen if I may. Yes, Your Worship, members of council. If you remember, I did come in front of council the community hall in December, highlighting a shortfall in the grant application that we made 18 months ago around wildfire fuel management. I don't really have a slideshow per se. I just picked a few of the slides from that presentation just to refresh your memory in case you had questions. The main problem being that in the contractor's fee listed there 90,000. We're finding that our contractors coming in at a much higher rate of 245,266. And in doing this, company basically chose to prepare to increase their grant application to 150,000. The overall ask is still 182,000. Therefore, City of Fernie would have to contribute the remainder, which is going to be around 35,000. And so the reasons for that are that the challenges we're facing is no fuel management can be completed between April and August, affecting costs, migrating birds, is there. The high cost is due to the fact it's mainly manual work rather than mechanical work, machine work. It's a lot of work to be done by hand, which is increasing the costs. And that the contractor would need to start no later than February the 20th, which is why we're here today. And our next steps were we to be approved for this additional funding or to get this funding. We'll then have to go back to see the teachers to confirm they're still willing to make that increase to 150. Confirm the prices for the contractor and the project manager to make sure their price hasn't increased. They're saying they haven't. And we will need to organise a neighbourhood meeting then with the residents of Ridgemont, primarily, but the community as a whole, because of the area being affected in Ridgemont. We would also need to liaise with trail network routes because it would impact trail access whilst the work is going on. And the contractor would want to start with that and be on site for 4 to 6 weeks. So that's a quick refresher of what was discussed in December. And I'm now open to any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll ask Corporate Officer Daniel to read the recommendation.
Yes, that council approved $35,000 in funding to cover costs over and above the $150,000 grant from Columbia Basin Trust for fuel management treatment at Cemetery Ridgemont.
And the mover, Councilor McIsaac, seconder, Councilor Nixon. Any further discussion? All in favor? That is passed unanimously. Thank you. That brings us to item number 10, correspondence. Any comments, questions, discussion about the correspondence you saw in your packages? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports from council. Councilor Schuster, can I start with you?
You absolutely could. Stop in over at Trinity there just to see how they were all doing. They're pretty happy with things. That's good. Not much else on the go other than just been visiting the family thing on the holidays, so. Pass along the rest, yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, the holidays were busy and I'm not gonna say Happy New Year because, well, no, I can say Happy New Year, right? To everyone. I also want to re-congratulate Dr. Ron Clark and thank Officer Meredith and Communications Officer Liz Rhodes for putting on that event. That was fantastic, along with the other staff that were there. I also wanted to commend our staff after the big freeze and then transitioning so quickly. Watching people standing in front of Save on Foods with, it looked like they were up to their waists in water was quite commendable. So good on them. And then also want to say that double kudos to the Fernie Fire Rescue because not only did they have a very successful event on Saturday, Fernie on Fire, they also did a great job on Sunday. So very cool. And then also, I just want to say it's not too late to streak. So I hope everybody's out there doing their 30 minutes of exercise on Elk Valley Street. Still time to sign up.
Thank you, Councilor Nixon. Councilor Kelly.
Not too late, Your Worship. I'd like to say Happy New Year to everyone. Now that Councilor Nixon says we're allowed to, and Happy New Year to the community. And I wish everyone joy and abundance in 2023. I too, along with Councilor Schuster, had a little lovely visit at Trinity Lodge with the folks there who are just delightful. And I also wanted to commend I get nothing but kudos about snow removal. Like 99% of folks are so happy. And thank you so much to our fire department for responding and looking after the folks in West Fernie property. Life saving, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councilor Kelly. Councilor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I guess I can just say it, I don't have to type it out myself. Which is what I was doing. Thank you. I want to take a moment to and pile on with Councilor Nixon in commending staff for the response to that freeze event. I was out and about around town and watched what was horrendous conditions to do anything outside in. And all kinds of situations were resolved very quickly. And I'm sure there are people out there that their situation wasn't resolved quickly enough for them, but I saw staff working hard and solving the problem, and it was fantastic. And following Councilor Kelly's comment on snow removal, it's outstanding. I hear very positive things, and it's amazing what 3 years of really hard work by management and staff has paid off. It's paying off. So kudos to all of them. Also, congrats for the great Fernie on Fire event. That went really well. It was a really great event, and it supports a really important organization. This year supported a really great organization in our town, which is the Australian Suicide Task Force. I did purchase a calendar today. I was going to bring it tonight and show it on camera and encourage everyone to buy one. It mysteriously disappeared from my house. I suspect it's gone to someone's office. But I encourage everyone to get out and buy and support both the firefighters and the task force. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just like everyone, it was a busy holiday season. I think the one thing my wife and I were more closely watching was the flooding in the library basement. That was a big event, and thanks to the city staff to spring into action in real quick time and getting it in order. Really thankful for that, especially for Director Jensen. Apparently, the whole crew was in there. They were a little late to realize what was going on. They had to pick it up from the social media, but good that it was also there. Thanks, everyone, in that effort. Again, just like everyone else, heard a lot of good things about snow clearing and how good it has been this season. That's been the talk of the town. Something that I would like to explore myself with the staff at some other point in time is I'm also hearing a few things around non-compliance by certain strata in town, certain people, just non-compliance with how the snow is removed in front of their property and things like those. I've heard a lot of those things from the citizens, so would like to explore that a little bit further with the staff sometime in this year. Also, again, one thing that keeps coming back with a lot of my conversations with the people is they're all anxious to get back to being fully accessible to these meetings at the senior center or whatever we would decide. And yeah, those are my big comments.
Thank you. And we continue to move forward with the accessible meeting, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Perez.
Happy New Year, everyone. I hope we all set some positive New Year's resolutions that are achievable. Over this Christmas break for me, I was able to attend BC Youth Parliament, which is really exciting. It's held in Victoria at the Legislative Assembly. It's a very big learning curve and a lot of language I had to go over, but some of the main projects and service goals that we focused on was carrying out Camp Phoenix, which is held in Soup, and it's a camp for kids who face adversity. So like social and financial were two of the big ones that we tried to include. One thing that we really pushed for this year was having a greater amount of campers being able to attend. So we expanded this number from 40 to 60 campers. I also really pushed for this being from the southern interior, was to have a larger geographical acceptance be taken into account when selecting the campers. So I joined the recruitment committee to ensure that this is happening. And one of the things I noticed in the criteria was there's no funding for campers who are coming for this area. The travel is not going to be funded for. So as my service project, we have to complete service projects with the organization. I am going to fundraise to sponsor a camper from Fernie, BC to go out there. I have one in mind. She's in my council group right now, but I'm trying to make it so she'll be able to have this opportunity. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. And then the second thing we really were talking about was drug abuse and the opioid epidemic amongst teens. It may not seem like it's as prevalent here, but as BC-wide, it is a very big issue that we face. So the second service project I'm going to be taking on is trying to increase the education surrounding the lockstone kits in BC high schools. Specifically, I'm going to start in Fernie, but I'm going to try and increase this through all BC school boards And I'm gonna start with senior classes at FSS and try to expand into the academy. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to this winter break, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And for me, again, as everyone has said, I said at the outset, Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome back to our council meetings. So on December 12th, you recall, in one of my council reports, I talked about, we had hosted our first housing roundtable, which was a sort of large mixed stakeholder group at the senior center, and was very productive, and it spawned sort of two offshoot groups. One is a housing solutions committee that we held our first meeting today. Again, very productive discussions, likely going to potentially split into a couple more smaller groups to work on very specific housing issues. But very encouraged by both our staff in attendance and everyone around the table, their openness and willingness to collaborate on developing solutions. I wanted also, so one of the initial groups was what we were calling an urgent shelter needs group. So as we had some indication, a lot of people suffering through the first cold snap we had. And I want to commend specifically Deputy Chief Robinson for his work on the overnight warming center that you put in place through December 21st to 23rd in the senior center. Nobody took advantage of it, and that's a good thing, but it was there if people needed it, and I thought it was a great initiative, and you literally took the ball and ran with it, and so I commend you for that, and thank you on behalf of the citizens of the city for doing that. Oh, you're more than welcome, and I got to know Deputy Chief Robinson quite well, because my wife and I and others in this room volunteered at the center, and we ended up playing cards an awful lot and getting to know each other a lot better. And I want to thank those people from the community who dropped off goodies and coffee and other, and stuff for folks had they wanted to use it. So it was a really great initiative, and you're to be commended on that. On January 4th, Mr. Boranowski and I met with our MP, Rob Morrison. I thought a very productive introductory for me meeting with our MP, and we have a couple of follow-up items from that. Yeah, and that's it for me. So thank you, everybody. And on that note, I will ask
For sure.
the Code Officer Daniel to read the recommendation to close the meeting.
Yes, that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 91E of the community charter as the subject matter relates to the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land for improvements.
Can I have a mover? Councilor McFadden, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All in favor? And we shall consider the meeting closed. Thank you.